Good afternoon and welcome to Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast, formerly Libertarian Counterpoint podcast. We're coming at you on Christmas Eve, December 24th of 2020. And with me here today, we have in the upper left-hand corner, Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty, is a retired engineer from the state of California. And up in our right-hand corner, we have our Screaming Eagle of Freedom, Tim Everett, pilot in the state of California. And I'll be your host today. My name is Jason McPhee. And, it's Christmas, I guess, couldn't come too early. Seems to have brought us the vaccine, stimulus, and all kinds of stuff. And so we'll be talking about those items on the show today. So let's jump right into it. So, stimulus checks. Well, it seemed like we had our COVID and stimulus relief package by Congress was all voted on. All the pork was loaded in, and we thought we were going to have this all coming down the pike. I guess it would have been approved today or yesterday, but
yesterday it was supposed to be signed yesterday.
Yes, but Trump put the brakes on it, so the Republicans were sort of starting to crow about how they had sort of brought the Democrats down in some of their demands about how much money they wanted. But at the last minute, Trump jumped in and said, "Hey, you're not giving enough stimulus money to people for COVID relief." And I think he criticized some of the money going to other countries and some of the other budget bills that were also passed as well. But he wanted $2,000 in stimulus relief for COVID relief instead of the $600 that was passed. And the Democrats are all too gleeful to go along with that, I guess. But now I'm not quite sure what's going to happen. What do you guys think about this? It seems like kind of a, yet more turmoil as Trump leaves on his way out the door.
I think it's kind of ridiculous to have these government types shutting down the economy, ruining people's lives, and then they're going to send us a $600 check or a $1,000 check or $1,500 or whatever the hell it is they're going to send us. They ruin the economy, and then they're going to stimulate the economy by trying to pay us welfare, I guess essentially is what they're saying. They're calling it stimulus, but it's a transfer payment. That's what it really is. It's really kind of ridiculous. But it all goes back to this thing of government deciding what is essential and what is not. Why we have people at home? Why is the economy being locked down right now? There's very little science to support the lockdown of the economy. And nobody's looking at the negative effects anyway. But this thing about, they're going to stimulate the economy after they locked it down. This is ridiculous. The government should not be making choices like this. Not at all.
Well, there's some people that are looking at it. In fact, there's 22 separate studies that have been published, peer-reviewed scientific studies. Each one of them indicate that shutting down the economy does not help reduce the spread of a virus like COVID. So they're all in agreement. And then you can look at you can compare the graphs of COVID, whichever you want, deaths or the infection rate of states in the United States that have shut down totally, like California, and states that have opened up or stayed open. They look the same. The graphs look exactly the same. Or in some cases, like California's, we're one of the worst.
Right.
And yet we've shut down. So, I don't know what greater proof is. It's like this whole stimulus package thing. Stimulus with 100% debt, brand new money printed up at the Fed. They're borrowing it from the Fed, and the Fed just prints it up. No problem, or they're going to, no matter what it is. And I understand. My understanding is that, the Democrats are all too gleeful about adding, instead of $600 a person, $2,000, but not getting rid of the billions to Egypt for their military. Egypt,
yes.
We can't bow to those those countries, Egypt and Saudi Arabia, fast enough, hard enough, long enough. They're the ones, and they're the ones that sent Egypt, sent one, and the rest came from Saudi Arabia that ran airliners into the Twin Towers. These are our enemies, and yet because we have this whatever relationship it is, they get the brunt of our foreign aid. It's pathetic. And so this whole thing, the printing up of money and giving it away to countries like Vietnam, who have zero COVID deaths, and putting it into something called a COVID package, just typical of government. I mean, I don't know what, it's like I'm lashed to the bow of the Titanic and gagged, and I'm sitting there watching us go closer and closer to the iceberg, and there's nothing I can do about it. Because what difference does it make? We've been warning about, just pumping this bubble of debt up, and waiting for it to burst, and they have no issue with continuing of increased air pressure into the bubble. They don't care, and there's nothing we can do about it. So, as libertarians, as a libertarian, at least coming from me, this is my view. I'm lashed to the Titanic and watching the iceberg approaching, and there's nothing I can do except just sit there and watch it all unfold in front of me.
But what is happening here, and Tim, you're right. What is happening here is that old axiom that whenever the government grow larger, our individual liberties grow smaller, and that is what is happening. The government is taking power away from us, centralizing that power, and then they are deciding what goodies they're going to hand out. Or they're going to give us a little stimulus check. They're going to give us a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And we should bow down and say, yes, thank you, master. That is what we should be doing.
Yeah, they broke our legs.
Yes, exactly. They broke our legs. Very good analogy. They broke our legs. And then they're going to tell us, well, let me help you up. We're going to help you up.
Here's
whenever the government wants to help you, this is the time you should be running far away. And this is what is going on right now. Our individual liberties are being destroyed. Just like Tim says, I guess, the Titanic is approaching that iceberg, that big giant iceberg right there in the middle of the ocean, and nobody seems to know how to steer it away from the iceberg, even though the iceberg is very, very visible.
Yeah. And so the end of that break your legs analogy is, and then here's a pair of crutches. Aren't we great? The government gives you a pair of crutches.
Yes.
What a wonderful boy I am for giving you those crutches.
Yeah, probably defective and the wrong size to boot.
No, they probably they'll give you the crutches, but the crutches they'll be of different heights. One will be 5 feet and the other will be 4.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, there we are.
The only person who seems to have any sense in all of this is Senator Rand Paul. The other day he was speaking on the floor of the Senate, and he gave a nice 10-15 minute speech, pretty much saying what should be obvious to anybody, that look, we're just writing. We can't write checks. We can't write our way out of this. I mean, we're cutting down our productivity, and we're printing out more funny money. The bottom line is that, we've got to get people back to work. That's the real solution to this. That
is the only real stimulus we need, is people going back to work. And what is more disgusting about it is that all the big businesses can stay open, but all the small mom and pop shops are being closed, and the restaurants. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that worries me a little bit about this, though, is that, the Republicans had this, bill that they thought was essentially a done deal. and the Democrats were sort of going along with it, even though they wouldn't do it before the election. So just to spite Trump. But, and they were holding out for more money, essentially. And now, after Republicans started sort of doing a victory lap on this, my understanding is even one of the senators running in Georgia, was putting out a campaign ad saying how, they had, brought relief to the, citizens of Georgia. And then here comes Trump saying, yeah, this is terrible bill and I'm not going to sign it. And it needs to have more money. I'm hoping that he doesn't, with his antics, just derail, the Republicans' chances in Georgia. Because, as a libertarian, I mean, our best bet is that, that the gears get, sort of gummed up, and gridlock.
Gridlock is gridlock is a very good thing, quite frankly. Okay, we don't need any more expansion of the government. We really don't.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to take my pick of which one would be more fiscally responsible if they had everything, probably the Republicans. But the thing is that, good God, if either one of them, gets complete control of the ship, especially the left. I mean, oh my gosh, I don't think, with their ideas on modern monetary theory, they seem to think that it doesn't matter how much money you print, it's all okay until you get to full employment, I think is what they say. I don't quite understand their rationale, but essentially the way they think is that you can just print endlessly and it's okay.
But this was Rand Paul. Rand Paul was making a very good point on the floor, because he was talking about how over the years Republicans have had this very big mantra of containing spending, cutting spending, and all that kind of stuff and things like that. But when you look at what is being done now, I mean, Republicans can't make that claim anymore. The way they're pumping these fake dollars into the economy under the guise of stimulus, it's ridiculous. So the Republicans have lost all moral authority on the spending issue, if you want the truth. But if, like you say, when we have to choose the lesser of two evils in this matter, you really would like to have some gridlock. So that means you would like the Republicans to keep control of the Senate. I hope it turns out that way. But because we need gridlock, we don't need these people set loose on the Treasury. We really don't. Yeah.
Well, as far as some of this goes too, the money that I think it's $2 trillion that this whole all the bills that they had just signed or that they were trying to pass through Congress the other day.
2.4.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a huge amount when you consider how much we're already in debt. In recent shows we've talked about the debt to GDP ratio, and it's just staggering. I mean, we're getting to levels that we haven't been close to since World War II, and I mean we're kind of shooting past that. I think with our lowered productivity during all this, but. Now, aside from all this money that they were recently going to pass, the states are starting to say that they're going to need a lot of bailout money in the future. And I guess they're looking like, Joe Biden in 2020, they're hoping he'll be their Santa Claus for that year. And that, especially these big blue states, I think the Governors Association, which is, I guess, not quite partisan or sort of bipartisan, they're suggesting that states and cities are going to need like around $500 billion over the next couple of years to sort of shore up their budgets. But to me, that seems optimistic with all the damage that's being done. But the one of the crazy things though is, and I side with the Republicans a little bit on this, is they don't want to see states that have just mismanaged their finances going into all this, like California, and especially is super aggressive in their lockdowns as well, getting rewarded, I guess, at the expense of everybody else by being able to. So anyway, I don't know. You guys have any thoughts on all that?
I could be persuaded to bail out the states, but with a big but. If there's no accountability with the bailout, if there's nothing's going to change with the bailout, then I'm totally against any form of bailout for any state, including California. One of the big problems with with this mismanagement is the unfunded liabilities from pensions. Now, my retirement and pension is tied up in some of this mess. Okay, so I might be talking against my own interests here, but I don't want bailout to these states, and then they're gonna turn around and do the same thing that they've been doing for the last 50 years. What is the point of it? Because we just bail them out now, and then it becomes a band-aid for another gush of wonderful utopia that they're going to try to bring upon us. So no bailout without accountability, unless they're going to change something drastically. No bailout.
Yeah, I don't think there'll ever be any kind of an accountability, and there certainly won't be anybody paying it back.
Right.
It will, if they did that, if they do that, where states now will be funded essentially by the central bank. Okay, let's just forget about all the stuff. It's going to be all 100%, just like all these numbers, the 2.4 and the 500 billion, which is half a trillion. All this money they're throwing around, all of it, every dime of it, will be brand new printed money from the central bank. 100%. It's not going to come from some taxpayer that's alive. It's going to be coming maybe from taxpayers in the far distant future, or It may be coming from people that suffer from an explosion of inflation rates that would make Weimar Germany look pale in comparison. So, which is what the modern monetary theorists seem to forget. And people that complain about this all being socialism, they all forget that there's a central bank involved in this. And the central bank is the entity that is allowing this kind of thing. So it would destroy our federalist system of separation, where you have independent state, independent states that are independently functioning and funding themselves, all of a sudden would just be essentially funded by the central bank and the federal government through the federal government, the central bank through the federal government. And that would be the end of federalism, 100%. And, a federal government could simply twist arms and have them do whatever they wanted them to do, and so on. So just forget about it. I mean, just forget about the United States being the United States. It's going to be just one giant country, and they're getting these ideas from separate countries like Germany and the United Kingdom and other European countries who have increased their debt burdens as a percent of GDP. For example, Germany used to be 60% in that neighborhood of GDP. Their debt. I'm just talking their debt. And now it's projected, they don't know yet because it hasn't finished the year of 2020, but it's going to be well over 80%. And who knows what the eventual figure will be. Well, that's a huge increase. That's a 30% increase in debt to GDP. And we're not talking nominal debt. We're talking debt as a percent of GDP. And this is to pay their people to stay home and look at the wall and be good little COVID peons and minions, and just sit there and don't work, because we're gonna print some money up and we're gonna give it to you, and there you have it. And so they're starting off much better than most of the European countries. I know we're getting up on time, but anyway, the end result of all this, if I guess maybe the modern monetary theorists are correct, and we could all have Ferraris and no downside whatsoever, and you could we'll give Jason a Lamborghini, and
Well, how generous of you with our taxpayer money. You should run for office.
No, it's not. No, you got to stop.
You got my vote.
Stop calling it taxpayer money. This is brand new money.
Yeah.
Newly minted or created in a computer at the Fed. And so you don't have to worry about another taxpayer footing the bill. No, this is brand new money injected into the economy. And there you have it. So I'm sorry, Leon and Jason, I just went all over everyone.
No, it's okay. But I think at the bottom, at the end of the day, there's too much in our society of rewarding bad conduct. We are seeing too much of this. And if we bail out the states, especially these blue states, which have totally mismanaged their local economies, California, New York, Illinois, and others, if we bail them out and there's no accountability, it's just that we are rewarding bad conduct. We've seen that spread into our society. And we got to be careful about this, really got to. So I say no bailout whatsoever, unless something is going to change drastically. And Tim, you're right. We would destroy federalism if we were to just bail out the states and then start twisting their arms to do X or do Y according to the dictates of the federal government, which would be a very, very bad thing, quite frankly.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too, these plans that, like it couldn't help but thinking as you were talking about the government plan is for us to sit at home and stare at a wall and get paid for it. You can only dream that up if you're a central planner.
Yeah.
Of course.
Not really something that's competition driven. Also too, I can't help but thinking as well that, with the modern monetary theorists, I mean, $2,000, I mean, that's just being a piker. Why not? If this stuff really works, why not just give us all a check for $1 million with that Lamborghini?
Yeah, for sure.
It's funny. You can never pin these guys down to why that won't work. That they seem to be really generous, but when you go large, they suddenly get all nervous.
And it is so objectionable when they try to tell us that this is really a stimulus check. When these are the people shutting down the economy and destroying our lives, and they want to tell us this is a stimulus check.
Yeah.
This is so objectionable.
Yeah. That's the craziest thing of all in all of this is that they call this stimulus while they're not allowing anything to be stimulated.
Yeah.
They're handing us money and they're not allowing us to actually engage in the activity that they're hoping to stimulate it. It's only from central government could you get this kind of stuff. But and I unfortunately I feel a little bit like a central planner here because we missed our goal to hit vaccines today. Wanted to talk about that, but we'll have to get to that.
Jason, what's going on here? What's going on here? Damn, come on now. What's going on here?
We'll have to get to that in one of our next shows because I don't want to short those topics because they're pretty important. But that said, I think we'll jump in just a little bit early today for our Knucklehead Noise Patrol. So there's the sound. So on the Knucklehead Noise Patrol, this one we might want to spend a little more time with it anyways because we had a case of the Knucklehead Noise Patrol is where we talk about something silly that somebody has said recently, and so we actually had a case of a congressman from California who I guess is starring in his own version of a reality version of the movie The Spy Who Loved Me. so he is apparently unknowingly been sleeping with a Chinese spy for about the last decade or something or close to that. And his name is Eric Swalwell, and not only has he been sleeping with a Chinese spy, but he has also been sitting on the Intelligence Committee for the House.
Yes.
So a Democratic congressman, and so there's been some concern, obviously, that hey, this guy is sitting on an Intelligence Committee. Should he be pulled off? And some of the Republicans have suggested that. And Nancy Pelosi was recently quoted as saying, I don't have any concern about Mr. Swalwell. I do think that it is unfortunate that Mr. McCarthy, that's the Republican leadership here, is trying to make an issue of this. But you know what he's trying to do. He's trying to deflect attention from the fact that he has QAnon on his delegation over there. I mean, holy crap, talk about, well, look at what he did, She's got a problem. She's got a fire in her own house, but she's pointing to somebody else's house and saying they got some trouble over there too. It's just insane. And by the way, irony of ironies, Swalwell has also been repeatedly saying that Trump is a Russian agent during the last 4 years as well. So anyway, I'll let you guys have at this.
God. Swalwell is really a piece of work, okay? He used to be on TV, just like I said, he used to be on TV in and out telling us how Trump is a Russian asset, there was collusion, all of these things. This man is such a hypocrite. I guess the Democrats have this disease. Hypocrisy that is at the top of their list. He used to be all over TV. One time he was on Fox News with Martha McCollum, and he said something about Trump and being a Russian asset. And even Martha, who is a damn good reporter, was so shocked by the man's statement. Like, are you serious? He turned around and said, what was incorrect about what I said? The man was that arrogant about his statements about Donald Trump. Now we come to find out this man been sleeping with a Chinese spy. Now we come to find out. And now all of a sudden, we can't find him. He's nowhere to be found. All the time he was on TV, all over, almost every day, you could see him on Fox News or on CNN or one of them. You could see him. But now, he wouldn't even answer questions. He's running and hiding. And this man is sitting on the Intelligence Committee. And but there's a deeper problem here, really and truly. There's really a deeper problem here that we should really be careful about. This is the second situation involving a Democrat and a Chinese spy. Dianne Feinstein, senator from here in California, had a man who was a Chinese spy working for her for 20 years. And what happened? Nothing happened. The FBI gave her a defensive briefing. They allowed the man to retire. I think he went back to China. I don't know where he is right now. And that was the end of the matter. Now Eric Swalwell sleeping with a Chinese spy. And what is going to happen with this now? Are we going to have a special prosecutor going to spend $48 million to investigate him now? Are we going to have that? Or is this just going to be one of these things we're going to just sweep under the carpet again?
Well, to find out the answers to those questions and more exciting questions, we'll have to wait till one of our next shows. But we've reached the end of our time. But if you want to join us for our next one, and you can catch some of our old shows at libertariancounterpoint.com, Facebook Libertarian Counterpoint, and we're also on public access too on Sacramento on Mondays. So, but thanks so much, and have a Merry Christmas. And we'll catch you next one.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.